the John Gambling Show, already into our fourth half hour of our fast 2 hours on a Monday in New York City. Glad to have you on the other side of my radio. Otherwise, it gets very lonely if you're not there, so thank you for the company. On our telephone right now is Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Labate. He is, among other things, the Republican candidate for Congress from New York's 3rd Congressional District out here on Long Island. And there is a primary tomorrow, and we are hoping that the Lieutenant Colonel will make it to Washington for a little seat change down there. Hello there, Stephen. Welcome.
John, it's always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for having me on again.
Nice to know. Before we get into some of the congressional issues or the way you see life, I understand you're part of the Army Reserve. You're still active in that, aren't you?
Yes, 25 years. Actually, I'm assigned to the Pentagon at Headquarters Department of the Army. So I actually commute 2-3 days a month, even now, back and forth from New York to Washington to do my military time.
All right. You were in Iraq when?
I was in 2004 to 2005. I was mobilized for 3 years. I spent a year in Iraq. I was a year at the Pentagon at the Army Operations Center, and I was in 1 year also in 2002 to 2003 in another location, an undisclosed location.
Well, are you going to tell us where it is? Or not?
Yeah, I wish. It is one of those things. I was the company commander and commanding 80 amazing
My question, Stephen, is what do you make of this mess we've got now?
It's really disturbing because actually the base that I was stationed at for a year of my life was just abandoned by the Iraqi army. They took off their uniforms and abandoned this huge base. It was actually Labate Air Force Base. I was in the middle of the Sunni Triangle, about 20 miles northeast of Baghdad. It's disturbing because the reality is this didn't have to happen. Admittedly, there were mistakes on the part of the Bush administration that were compounded by a lack of interest on the part of the Obama administration. So it is extremely disturbing, and I mean, who can really tell exactly where it's going to finish?
All right. As a representative of the North Shore of Long Island and other places as well, what do you think that you bring to the Congress if you're first if you get through the primary tomorrow, but on to the general election?
Wow, that's a really great question, because one of the key points that I bring to the table is the fact that I am the outsider. And I know we spoke about this last year. The reality is that, I'm not running for Congress because I'm necessarily looking for some sort of corner office at the Capitol, or I need some sort of a ride on Air Force One. I'm a 25-year Army officer, a combat veteran, 15 years martial arts. I'm a man who's very comfortable in his own skin. And I'm going to Washington because I really want to shake things up. I want to go there, all right? I'm not going there to make friends. I have twin 8-year-old children, and, I'd walk on fire for my kids, just as you would. And I think right now we are stealing from our children's future, our grandchildren's future, and that has got to stop. You need new leadership, and that's the key word, leadership in Washington. Not managers, not more lawyers. We need actual leaders in Washington, and that's something we're really lacking right now.
Yes, we are bereft of that in almost every quarter, I think. Of course, Stephen, everybody that's running for Congress, senator or representative, always says exactly the same thing. And in fact, I don't know if you were listening in the first half hour, but I went on a 15-minute rant about term limits and the fact that we just keep we got started on the Charlie Rangel thing. And there's no solution because the people that write the laws and the rules aren't going to put themselves out of business.
You know what, actually, I'm a supporter of term limits. I never was in the past, but my view has changed because I've seen, now that I'm somewhat part of the process, I see how hard it is to actually unseat an incumbent. Because in the past I was like, you can always vote the person out. That's not true. Because the incumbent, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, there's fault on all sides here with this mess we're in. But the reality is right now, it's these individuals who are getting these $5,000, $10,000 checks from these lobbyist groups, that's keeping them in office. So the voice of the lobbyist, outweighs the voice of the American people. And I really think this is an important point too, John, is the fact that the percentage on the part with individuals actually served in combat for their country, it's actually down to the single digits. And whenever you're a Democrat or Republican, but if you served in uniform, all right, at some point in your life, you realize there's something in this life, in this world, that's greater than yourself.
That's a really interesting. That's a very interesting point, and it's a point not just for being a politician in Washington or in Albany or Trenton or Hartford or wherever it might be, but it really is, I think, an important part of sort of just management of life, and that is that if you don't have the perspective that there is something bigger in your world than you. Then you're crippled.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? My wife does somewhat think of me as a Dudley Do-Right, but you know what? I have on my keychain a small dog tag, and on the dog tag it has the 7 Army values, and those values of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Now, that's an ethos that I carry with me in my military service, carry with me in my personal life, and that I want to carry with me to Washington, because I don't think that the folks that we currently have in our elected office even know what those terms mean these days, and that's very sad. It's sad for my country, because this is going to be the first generation in American history where the next generation is not guaranteed a better life than their parents, and that's very sad, and this has got to change. We're too great of a country. We're too great of a country to continually go down this path doing things wrong and hurting our children and grandchildren. We're too good, John. We really are, and we have to stop.
We're talking with Stephen Labate, Lieutenant Colonel. He wants to run for Congress, needs to get through the primary tomorrow. So if you are voting in that district, the 3rd Congressional, pull the lever for Stephen here, and I hope you make it, my friend. I really do. It's a tough and heavy slog.
You know what? It's worth the fight. It really is. I've been in tougher fights in my life, as you're well aware, but you know what? It's worth it, and I think all Americans need to step up for the colors and step up for the fight, because right now our country, I feel, it's looking over a precipice. But you know what? I think we're going to come back stronger. I really do. That's who we are as Americans. We always...
I think we can do it. But it's going to take some pretty strong leadership in the corner office down there, and I don't mean Congress either, to pull and turn this thing around. And I think the Republicans need to get themselves some leadership down there that moves in a more positive and less political direction. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens in November. Maybe we'll get a nice, pleasant surprise. Good luck tomorrow.
Hey, thank you, John. Thank you. Take care.
You bet. Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Labate, 3rd Congressional District here on Long Island. Give him a yank on the lever in the voting booth tomorrow if you can. The things that Stephen talks about are really the values that we have completely lost, I think, down there, and the fact that we don't believe in sort of the greater good.